was always the dream of my heart.
I don't feel you here, and sometimes my faith feels so small.
Came to faith at 21, got introduced to worship and Christian music, and I was like, this is what I was born to do. And so I started writing Christian and gospel music at 22, and God opened up a door with a label when I was 24 in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I flew out and signed to Central City Music and started my first album, and here we are on album number 7.
Jaime's career continued to thrive, and as she toured the world, more opportunities unfolded along the way.
I got to help plant a church with incredible pastors called the Belonging Co. It's a thriving church in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was loving it. I was kind of using different ministry tools in that season. I got to help pastor new Christians, which was like a whole different way of ministry than just standing up and singing, if I'm being honest, on a platform, and really getting in one-on-one with people in their lives and helping people that are going through it.
Just as Jaime's career was reaching its peak, she was unexpectedly thrown a curveball.
I can remember I started to not feel great, and I just thought, is this like the stress of this new role, or what is going on? Am I just aging and like fatigue? Or I couldn't kind of put the pieces together, and I was still touring a little. I thought maybe I'm just burnt out. Come to find out, I had gotten bit by a tick years ago and didn't even really know the ramifications of what that can look like. By the time I fully got diagnosed, it had become chronic Lyme disease, and I can honestly say I hit rock bottom. I got to the point where I could barely get out of bed, couldn't think right, couldn't talk right. It really affected me neurologically, so I had neurological Lyme disease. Having gone from like a very full life, traveling, singing, always on the go, to then being all day, every day, inside, in bed, or on the couch, or Googling, trying to figure out what was wrong, the mental toll that that took, I think that was just as bad as the physical symptoms. So the fatigue is like nothing I can describe. Hard to even lift my hands to like brush my hair or brush my teeth. And I remember thinking, I feel trapped in my own body because my spirit was alive, but my physical body was not doing well. And then the toll that that took really did begin to affect me, just my spirit, and emotionally. You start to just think, is this the way the rest of life is going to be, and discouragement. And I remember laying in bed. It was a dark season. I had sold my condo, moved home with my parents, which was a real humbling thing to get taken care of at my age, and had been so independent. And I remember laying in bed one night, and it was the lowest of lows, where I just said, God, if this is the new normal, I would rather worship you face to face than here in bed. It scared me a little bit. And I can remember thinking, okay, God, I know you promised you work all things for good, but I need to turn around. And I was desperate, and I was crying out. I was at the end of the rope and needed a lifeline.
I know you're near, but I don't feel you here. And sometimes my faith feels so small when questions are all that I hold.
I can remember during the true days and dark suffering, seeing God and seeing Jesus in a whole new facet. And as hard as it was, I remember thinking, Jesus suffered on the cross so we could be whole, so we could be healed, so we could be free. And that revelation was never more real to me as on my darkest day. When you're fully walking in joy and in the light and things are going great and you're in victory, we know that truth. We know that we're whole and free, but it's a whole nother story when you are just barely taking your next step or your next breath.
Struggling to hold on, Jaime kept seeking God, praying for healing. He led her on an unexpected journey.
We found a healing clinic in New York City that truly knows how to treat Lyme disease and not just kind of mask the symptoms, but get it out of your body. It was tough. It was like boot camp for your body, and you don't feel good, right? And so then you're doing all the treatments on top of it. So I would literally get through treatment that day, go home, sleep, wake up, get through treatment, go home, sleep, for almost 3 months straight. And they told me, healing will not be overnight. This is gonna take a while, and it did. But I think the treatments coupled with, I had so many prayer warriors just praying and believing for my healing. I believe those two things were what got me back to life.
Jaime's health has been restored, and through God's goodness, she was able to return to the life she once loved. She now uses her gifts to reach others who are struggling.
Music really has been my lifeline, and God used it before I met him and now since knowing Christ. And there's something about when I sit down behind the piano, I just feel like I meet with God there in that place. And once I got healthy again, I felt during all those treatments that God kept reminding me, you're gonna sing again, you're gonna write again. But it felt like I needed to really be authentic and share the lows. So I've been writing songs that hopefully other people that are walking through it can relate to, and maybe they get a glimmer of hope, or they get peace on that track, or joy on that other song, and something that offers more than just, here's my music. But I really pray that it's like a healing balm and just brings people restoration. As we seek him, as we follow him, he somehow doesn't work some things or big things or little things, but all things for our good. And I can see that now looking back. He worked it for good. He brought life out of darkness. The Bible really came alive to me during that time. You know, it says it's the words of life. And man, when you need life, get into the Bible, because it will speak to your spirit and speak to your heart like nothing else will. Netflix is fun for a minute, but the word of life wants to regenerate our hearts and our minds. I like to rehearse the history and the goodness and the faithfulness of God. I like to remember who he is and what he's done in my life. Trials have an expiration date. We don't know when we're walking through a trial when it's going to end, but we know the one that will be with us, and that's Jesus. He promises to never leave us or forsake us. Let him love you when you feel unlovable. Let him bring light where all it feels like is darkness, and let his hope be the thing that carries you. I finally had to learn to just kind of let go and stop trying and just say, God, help me today. Will you do something today? Because I can't. And it was when I surrendered. It's when I finally let go and said, I can't do this, but you can, is when I started to see things head towards victory.
Let your will be done.